All right, everyone, we are back with part 10 of the Q&A. Part 10, that's a new record, I think. So yeah, back to the questions. And we've got, have you been to all museums, temples, and famous temples, I guess that's twice, in Tokyo? And have you traveled a lot outside of Tokyo? Let's see. I have been to, there are so many museums in Tokyo that like you just, it would be really hard to go to all of them, I think. There's tiny ones all over the place and kind of, small ones and galleries and all types of stuff, and they change, and there's new ones all the time. You'd have a real hard time going to all of them. But I've been to a bunch. I've been to a few museums, but like there's a lot of main museums where like all the big stuff happens, and I've been to all of those probably. But my favorite gallery in Tokyo is Vanilla Gallery. If you want to look it up, there it's just like weird ass shit there. That's basically all they do, just weird stuff. Like, I think last month they had, or maybe at the first half of this month, there was serial killer art, which is like art from serial killers. That's the kind of stuff they do. I think there's like an H.R. Giger thing at the beginning of next month that I'll probably go to. That's a good place. It's mostly just kind of like weird art and weirdo art. So I'm kind of into that. I've been to a lot of temples, but again, not there's so many that it would like be impossible to go to all of them. But I've been to a ton. I've been like a couple hundred or 150 or so. I used to like make a book. You can like get like a kind of a signature to say that you were at the temple, and I used to do those. But I had like two full books, and then I stopped after that, and I haven't been recently. I don't go a ton anymore, but I used to go all the time to temples. So let's see. Have you ever been to Japanese karaoke or a maid cafe? Sorry. Uh, I okay. I've been to karaoke a million times. It's fun. You get a private room. You can just go in with your friends. And besides being devilishly attractive, I have a voice like an angel. So you can enjoy my. If you come to Japan and you want to go to karaoke, I'm your man because I'll wow you with my my golden pipes here. So let's see, Maid Cafe. I've been to. I had a friend who was working at one maid cafe, so I've been to that one once. But like, I don't really know the appeal of it. I don't kind of. I don't really get it. It's not for me, I guess. Um, I don't know. I guess if you're into maids. So let's see. Have you ever been to a big Japanese game release, like a party? I don't know. No, I've never been to any of those. They do have like release events sometimes, but I can't go to events and stuff like that. I skipped out on that stuff because like it's not fun for me. It's too many people, too much like I don't know. It's not for me. Let's see. Have you ever met any Japanese celebrities? And have you met someone on the Zebra Man movie? I was an extra in Zebra Man, but I didn't actually meet anybody. I didn't talk to anybody that was an actor being an extra. I could have, I guess. I guess I could have, but I didn't. But have I met any celebrities? I'm sure I have, actually. I'm trying to think of it. Japanese celebrities? Maybe not, actually. Um, I think I have actually met like a few, not like major celebrities, but kind of minor celebrities. And like, like um, one of my ex girlfriends has like a DVD series, so I guess she's kind of like a minor celebrity. But not that many people would know her, I don't think. Um, but that kind of stuff, like, I don't know. I know one of my friends who might show up on this channel actually is like kind of an idol singer, so who knows? I guess I have, but not anybody who's super famous. I don't know anybody who's really famous. Let's see. And have you ever been to a lot of Japanese game conventions? There's not like a lot of conventions. Um, Japan doesn't have like that kind of, like convention thing. I guess there's like, like the closest kind of thing is stuff like Comiket, which is like comic market or whatever. Um, but that happens like twice a year, and I've still never been to that either. Like, I always feel like I should go, but like every time I think like I should go, it's summer, and I'm like, oh, I guess I could be stuck in a building with like thousands of sweaty nerds. And like my friend who is like a cosplayer, she was saying like, oh yeah, I usually go, but like in the summer is the worst because like there is a definite like nerd stink going on where like you don't want to be in there. So I was like, fuck, I guess I can go in the winter. But then like when it's the winter, I always forget until like it'll be like days later when people are posting pictures, and I'll be like, oh shit, I should have went this year. And then like I remember usually in the summer, and then I'm like, I'm not going in the summer. So it's kind of like this never-ending cycle of never remembering to go in the winter and never wanting to go in the summer. So I've never been to that, but I've been to Tokyo Game Show. That's not really a convention, but I've been to Tokyo Game Show a bunch of times, and it's never worth it. I never like going to. I go to Tokyo Game Show like not every year, but every couple of years. So I've been like 4 or 5 times to Tokyo Game Show, but like man, I always like there's always so many people and you can never really do anything. I mean, I guess you could like wait in line for an hour to play games, and sometimes like I'll just like find games that have nobody waiting. It's just like these minor stupid games that nobody wants to play, and I'll play those. So like that's the kind of stuff I do at Tokyo Game Show. And like I had a last time I went, there was this is maybe last year. There were I had a friend who was working at some booth, like well my a friend of mine who was like running the what was it battlefield, some kind of battlefield, maybe hardline, I don't remember, the one that where you're like cops and robbers is basically the thing. Maybe it's hardline, but he was like doing with a like, not just him but like him and like a couple other people that I met through this gaming group that I sometimes go to. We're running like a booth, not the booth but like the promo for it. So like they were the people doing like the talking in the booth and like doing this kind of like live show type of thing, talk show kind of thing for Hardline. They had a big screen and stuff, and like we're live streaming it. And then like they were like, yeah, you can play Hardline, and I was like, well, I don't want to play Hardline, but I guess like if you're gonna cut me in front of everyone, that's cool. So I played Battlefield Hardline, and I didn't have to wait in line, and I got like a Battlefield Hardline bag and stuff. Like that was basic. That's like, and then like my ex was working at one of the Sony booths as like a booth girl, I guess. So I stopped and saw her, and she was like working at Tekken 7 or something, and next to Bloodborne. She was next to Bloodborne and saying how like she wanted to play Bloodborne. But that was it. I don't usually go to those big events though, and I never go to conventions. Like even when I was in the U.S., I didn't really go to conventions. Like, I mean, I've been to like in my whole life, I've like been to like a bunch of tiny conventions. Like, I've been to like some comic conventions, but like way before, like this is in the '90s before like Comic Con was a thing, like a big thing. This is like comic convention at a VFW hall where there's like 30 tables. That's it. And like I've been to a role playing convention, like a role playing game convention, and that was like in a hotel somewhere when I was like 14. It was all right. Okay, so that's it. That's actually the entire list of questions from Mutant0079. I think he might have more though, so I'm not sure. He might show back up, but we've got more questions. Um, okay, let's see. So MC Kernan 1987 is asking me, what would be your most memorable games you've ever played? Um, Memorable games. Like that's hard because like a lot of the games that are super memorable to me are just like games that I played first or games that were have like some kind of impact. So like like I always remember playing things like let's see, like Ultima 3 is like is one that's like really in my memory as a game that I really play. I mean I beat Ultima 3 like a million times and I played through it a million times. It's like, you know, toward like once you know how to play it actually, like once you know the how the layout works, you can just kind of go to everything. You can beat it really quickly. It's not like a very long game if you know where you're supposed to go. A couple hours. And like, it's just like a matter of getting like once you're at the end, like once you have to like fight the floor tiles and you can't see them, that's kind of annoying, but like it takes a little while, but like it's not hard or anything. And then like you have Exodus at the end, which is the goofy final boss. But that game is memorable because it was like one of the first game RPGs I ever played. Um, and playing like those Gold Box series games, especially like let's see, like Dark Knights of Krynn. Champions of Krynn is the first in that series, but I think I remember playing Dark Knights more. Um, and then like what's like stuff like Eye of the Beholder on the PC was like super memorable. Um, the first Final Fantasy was really memorable when I played that on the Nintendo. I'm trying to think of games that were like I've talked about a bunch. Kid Icarus is one of those games that was like really good for me. Bonk's Adventure. Um, there's a game called Order of the Griffin on the TurboGrafx that I played a ton. That's another D&D game though. But there's a lot of games like that are just like games that I remember playing a lot, so they're memorable because like I played them so many times. Shadowrun is another one. Um, there's a ton of those. But I hope that answered the question. Those are just they're only memorable to me though. I don't know if that's like what you mean like in terms of like um what is what do you mean by memorable? I guess, but I'm assuming you mean to me. But like I guess you could mean just like games that are memorable to everybody. Then I don't know. I mean I'd have to think about it more. So let's see. Okay, next is the Funny Nerd, who you should check out his channel. I know he has a channel, so I believe it's the Funny Nerd. The and the um, so Leo is here asking me some questions, and he's saying, since you have an arts degree, a few things I'd be curious to get your opinion on. So question one: what is your opinion on the current state of modern art and contemporary art? Okay. I do indeed have an arts degree, and we're going to get into some art talk here because I know people are going to look at this and they're going to think like, what is that question? Like, what is your opinion on the current state of modern art and contemporary art? Well, those are two different things. I mean, and it seems like weird. And I know a lot of people have the idea that like modern art is like just craziness. And but like modern art is actually not a specific art movement. It's not like current art that's contemporary art. Modern art is like a specific time period, and it involves like all these totally unrelated things. So like it starts with stuff like Monet, when you're like Paul Cézanne, stuff like that, like your early kind of like late 1800s, early 1900s stuff, and it goes all the way up until like about the 70s. So like if you can think of all the different art movements in that time, like that's modern art. But like you have all that stuff like your kind of like action painters, like your Jasper John, not Jasper Johns, that's something different. Um, you know, Jackson Pollock, stuff like where he's like an action painter, where it's like just kind of his stuff. It's like swirls of paint and stuff. And then you have like de Kooning, who is kind of an action painter. And then you have, I mean, they're like they're a different thing, but like someone like not Van Gogh. Well, I guess Van Gogh also, but like not that's not who I'm thinking of. Like Gustav Klimt and stuff like that. It's not exactly the same kind of stuff. It's actually like, I mean, it's representative. It's kind of expressionist, but it's not like abstract, is what I'm saying. Like, because like Jackson Pollock is an abstract expressionist, and someone like Gauguin or something is like just a regular expressionist, and like someone like Monet or Manet or any of those dudes are like impressionists, and it's something totally different. And then you have like your kind of Rothkos and stuff, like your color field painting, and then you have like your kind of pop art and stuff like that, and you have all of that kind of stuff. And like those are really different kinds of things. Like when you look at those, they don't look like they're part of the same movements of art, but they are in the terms of like when you say modern art, that's what all those things are. They all are encompassed by the gigantic thing of modern art. And like I guess like futurism would be in there too, all of that stuff, like from the late 1800s all the way to like about the 70s. And it's not even, it's not solid. That's not solid because I've seen people say like, oh, it ends at the 50s with like pop art and stuff, and then there's like postmodernism and all that stuff, which is totally different. I mean, but modern art is basically, the idea of it is kind of like you're trying to escape the the classical art, which is like the kind of idealized art, the realistic kind of classical um, depictions in art. So you have like, your kind of, it's taken from the ideas of like the great masters of the kind of Renaissance. I mean, the Renaissance people are taking it from the great masters or whatever, from like the kind of Roman Greek kind of classical art. That's why it's classical. And then like the Renaissance people bring that back into the this kind of ideal. So you'll get things like your Michelangelos and your Donatellos and your other Ninja Turtles, and you get all of those people doing their art at that time in the same kind of classical sense, like a classical revival, which is why it's the Renaissance. But you have like it's not even really that simple. That's like a really basic thing because you have like a northern Renaissance and a southern Renaissance, and like if you look at someone like Bosch or um, Van Eyck or something, like you look at those things, they're totally different than your kind of Michelangelos. So like but they're all like based on the same kind of thinking pattern, which is like this kind of classical art. And up until like you get the impressionists, like were doing something different. It was not classical. And you think of impressionist art now, and you think of like that's something my grandmother would put on her wall because it's kind of basic. But like when that stuff came out, it was like revolutionary. Like people were having riots over that shit. And like you look at a Monet now, and it's like a poster you'd get your mom would buy. So it's like totally a different kind of thing. But like current state of modern art, there is not really there's a current idea of modern art, but it's not like there's no current. I mean, it's over. Modern art is done. But contemporary art is, it's like too blanket of a term to give like an impression on. So like when you have like contemporary art doesn't mean anything. It just means like art that's contemporary to us now. Stuff being made now. There's so much stuff being made now that like it's not like a definitive movement. There's all types of people doing art and all types of things that are happening. So like there's a bunch of shit art, sure, and there's a bunch of stupid people doing stupid like kind of ridiculous art that is like not your kind of standard art kind of thing. Like they're not painting a picture or something. They're like carrying a mattress around campus or some shit. And like that's been going on for a long time, but it's not like the main drive of contemporary art. There's all types of stuff, and like there's all types of newer stuff too, because there's like installation art that involves like computers and shit like that you couldn't do previously. So I don't know. I think like when you talk about contemporary art, like you have to consider that there's a lot of kind of movements of art going on. So like contemporary art involves like all these kinds of like postmodernist kind of stuff, which is like still like from the 70s or so. It's not like new or anything, but like then you have like all types of new kind of mixed media stuff with video installations and like weird combinations of like drawings and paintings with video or like digital things. You've got all this stuff, and it's like there's a whole like frontier of stuff that's been opened up by technology that makes that kind of art, contemporary art, interesting. But like I don't have anything specifically that I'm like totally into, like any type of specific movement or anything. And like and like it seems stupid to say this because like I don't know how much normal people care about art, but the thing with it is that like any kind of like major art movement is generally like six dudes doing similar shit. That's basically it. Like when you get like all you have to do is get like, if if you have six friends who are artists and you get them all producing this similar kind of art based on this similar kind of idea or like a genre or whatever, and you get attention to you, you've started an art movement basically. Basically, you're the innovator of an art movement. It's just like that's how things work, and that's like basically how all art movements are. It's not usually like this big thing. Sometimes like what happens is like they'll start that way, and then people will catch on, and more will happen. But like your base of any kind of art movement is like five or six dudes doing the same shit in one kind of area, and it just catches on. But I don't even think I answered your question. But I could. It's not like a well formed question. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad against you, Leo, but like, it doesn't. I don't know what you're asking. Like, it doesn't make sense to me as a question. Um, but I guess like my opinion on those two things, like, there's no current opinion on modern art because there's no current modern art. If that doesn't, I mean, it doesn't seem strange that way. But contemporary art is too big to make any kind of contemporary opinion. But okay, question two: what are your views on abstract art? Abstract art. I like abstract art, but it like the thing with abstract art is that like abstract art is about it. Well, obviously, like it sounds stupid to say, but it's about abstractions. It's about things that are not like that need to be explained to get a full kind of view of what's going on. So like generally abstract art is like a modern art kind of thing because it's based on like something that's not like a classical art. It's based more on like a concept than it is based on like a the ability to make a great picture. So when you're building some kind of abstract art image, like depending on what you're doing, it doesn't really matter what it looks like in the end. So like going back to someone like Jackson Pollock, you have like a giant amount of dripped paint and stuff. Like you think like, well, anybody can do that. Yeah, anybody can do it, but like that's not the point of it is different. So like when like you could make it some kind of dripped paint art and say like, look, I've made modern art. It's so easy. Any jackass can do it. Yeah, but like the idea behind it is different. So like basically if someone were to do that now and be like, look, I'm an artist, like you could just be like, well, why did you do that? You have to there's an explanation. Well, Jackson Pollock has a reason for doing art in the way he was doing it. So like the the reason behind the art is the reason that it's art in that case. Like there's no if someone just did it with nothing in mind, it was just like an accident. Like they had this tarp on the ground below their painting room or some shit, and it just dripped all this stuff on it. And they took it out and be like, "This is my art. I just did it." Um, you could potentially do that, but without an explanation, it would just be a tarp with paint dripped on it. And like that's like the concept behind the art is what makes the art. Um, for abstract stuff, it's the same with a lot of stuff. Abstract expressionism isn't always like extremely abstract. Like it's there's usually well, I mean it it's it's stuff. Jackson Pollock is abstract expressionism because it's like and the key word there is expressionism because it's expressing something. It's not showing something, it's expressing. So generally like the idea of using this kind of like randomness to explain some kind of concept is what makes it the art. So I mean, I don't do it myself. Like I think like abstract art has basically like it's jumped the shark, if you will. Like it's not exactly like like it's hard to come up with new ideas beyond the ones that have already been made. So like you can do things in the same vein, that's fine, I guess, but like it's derivative. So it means that like it's not exciting anymore. So like I guess like the long way the roundabout way is like in theory like the original kind of abstract expressionists, I think I like them, but like people doing it now the same way, it's like you're 60 years too late doing the same shit. Like you're derivative to the point where it's boring. So if you were currently doing abstract art, you're probably derivative and boring. If you're not, if you're you're like doing it in the 40s or some shit, you're probably um innovative and interesting. I mean, it sounds stupid, but like that's kind of how art works. Let's see. So here are non-art questions from Leo. What is your take on virtual reality directly related to video games? I haven't tried any of these virtual reality helmets, but I'm kind of interested. Like, I'm interested in checking them out. I don't know. They're expensive though, and like I don't feel like buying another PlayStation 4 just to be able to use the VR. Um, and like I'm definitely not going to buy a PC one because my PC can't run any of the VR games, and my and those are way more expensive than like even the PlayStation VR is. So it's just like not going to happen. I mean, once they're cheap, maybe I'll buy one actually because I think like in theory I'm interested in it, but like in practice, how is it going to turn out? And like I'm already, like, and I bought the Kinect like on launch, and I liked the Kinect. I thought it was good. I mean, not great, obviously, but there was fun stuff to it, and there was like some games that it actually made better. Well, they were not full Kinect games. Like I played Mass Effect with the Kinect features enabled, and it actually made the game more fun for me. So like I can't really complain about how some of that stuff worked. But so I hope virtual reality is good. And I've seen videos. I've seen like like Happy Console Gamer made a couple of videos, and he seems really into it. And like generally I can trust his opinion on that kind of stuff. So I'll check. I mean, I'm interested in that kind of stuff enough to check it out at least. I mean, obviously, like I'll play it myself and form my own opinion, but like you know, some people you kind of have a good idea of what kind of stuff they like and how it matches with you, so you can kind of get an idea. But like I'm interested in it. I'm definitely interested, but like not interested enough to like spend hundreds of dollars right out the gate. So let's see. Let's see. How is Nintendo perceived in Japan as a company? I don't as a company like their company standing or something. I don't really know, but like I think Nintendo has like a better image, I think, in Japan than probably anywhere. I mean, I'd assume it does. I mean, the Wii U did pretty well in Japan considering, like, compared to the Xbox. I think it still might have outsold the PlayStation 4 so far. That might not be true anymore, but it was like kind of way ahead for a while. And like, Nintendo games still do really well, and Nintendo properties kind of sell really well. They're popular. So, I don't know. I guess it's pretty well regarded. I don't think people have like a negative idea of Nintendo, even though they probably should. Um, I don't know. So I think it's probably good. So, do you guys have any idea what the heck the NX is? Nope. I don't think anybody really knows except people who will work at Nintendo. I'm interested, but like I'm holding way off for the NX. Like, there's no way I'm buying one of those before like I'm positive there's a million games I want for it. Unless it's a handheld. I mean, I guess I'll buy it immediately if it's a handheld. Just because like I know that people will make games for the handheld. That's like it's weird because like if NX is like a new home console, I'm not really excited for that. And I know it's gonna be because they're already like saying that new Zelda game is gonna come out on the NX. So it's gonna be a console, but like who cares at this point? Like after the Wii U, like which I bought and have been horribly disappointed with, and not because the system is bad. It's like just because there's no games. I mean, no games come out for it. No games are in development for it. It's kind of garbage. So like, it's like a expensive paperweight at this point. Like I don't have any reason to have it anymore because like nothing I want to buy is ever going to come out for it again. It's just kind of like, oh, well, I played all the games that I got for it. I guess it's useless now. I guess I can use it to play my Wii games. Like that's kind of how it's kind of how it is now. So I'm worried that the NX is going to be something like that where it's just what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with this NX? It's gonna have like just Nintendo games I don't want to play. So I'm really cautious about the NX. I'm really gonna. There's a good chance that I'm not gonna get it for like years after it comes out until like I'm positive there's enough games that are gonna be good. Okay, and last question from Leo here is: how does Japan view the politically correct movement, and does it have any impact on how business is dealt in Japan? Okay, so I there are like some kinds of politically correct people in Japan, but like they have like almost no voice, and people think they're kind of like being silly. And like there is like, but like Japan is like a totally different country. So like it's a totally different culture. So like there's not like people who are offended by racism so much in Japan because like it's basically like a mono race country. Like 99% of people are Japanese, and like it's probably more than 99%. And then like even then, you know, out of the possible 1% that are not Japanese, like a vast majority of those are Asian of some kind. So it's hard to be like racist against people like for their race because there's not just not enough people who are gonna be like freaking out about race. And it seems like a lot of the people who freak out about race in Japan are not Japanese people. Obviously, I mean it makes sense because like Japanese people aren't going to be racist against each other, but like, and how could you be? But there's just not enough. There's not enough people of like different races for there to be like a kind of this politically correct thing. But like at the same time, there has been stuff where like it's changed some things in ways that like you know they change recently. There's been this thing where they're changing like the kind of manjis, which is like this, like the reverse swastika. It's like on maps and shit for temples. It's like the marker for temples, but like they changed it, or at least they're changing some stuff now for the because the Olympics will be in 2020. So like they're changing those things on maps so that they're not swastikas. They're like something else. They change like this kind of universal symbol. They're thinking of changing these things at least for like when tourists come for the Olympics. They're like got to make these things easier to understand. Apparently, there's kind of like this universal symbol for like onsen, which is like a kind of bath kind of thing, or you know what I mean. But it's like it looks like a bowl with the wavy lines coming out of it, and like they changed it so like there's people in it too, so you can obviously see it's not like a bowl of soup or some shit. But like that kind of stuff, I don't know. The swastika thing is more a politically correct thing. The other thing is just kind of like ease of understanding, even though it's not hard to understand. But like I don't think it affects business in Japan so much. Like I've seen game developers do interviews where they're just like, we're not going to port our game because we don't want to have to worry about like putting different races and stuff in and worrying about people's like political ideas. So we're just not going to port our game. I mean, I've seen that happen. Not in like Dead or Alive is a Extreme or whatever was an example of that, but like some other games too, where like the developers are just like, we don't want to deal with that, so we're not going to port the game. But in Japan, it doesn't really affect the developers. Like in Japan, they have a different standard to work by, so they can just put in what they would normally put in. So it's not like really a politically correct thing, so much as affecting Japan, so much as it affects like the places that are going to be ultra politically correct aren't going to get the games. They're just not going to change them enough to work with it. And it might change some bigger companies. Like if you're like, all right, we're back. The phone filled up there. Fold up. What am I saying? But we are back. I don't remember what I was saying. Politically correct stuff. I guess it's not really affecting in Japan, but it might affect big companies making games for outside of Japan. But I haven't seen anything that's really an example of that. I don't really know. But I don't think it changes many things with how things work. I'm going to try to... this part might be really long because I don't know how long it's been. The first half of this was before my phone filled up. So I'll try to go like another half hour on this, I guess. That's my estimate. And so this might be a really long part. I'll have to stitch them together and see how it works out. But there will be a weird jump cut before this. So that's all of Leo's questions. Thanks, Leo. I know you were saying you were going to add questions, and you came through in spades. So let's see. Next, Assembly of Nihilo, which is a cool name. Asked me, I'm a bit curious as how you first got in Japan. It seems most people get their foot in the door by becoming ESL teacher and then branching out from there to other fields, or they have after they have the visa. Was this the case for you, or did you get lucky and get a translation job right off the bat, or maybe something else? Initially I came to Japan as a student, and then like I switched my visa to a work visa after I finished school. So that was it. I mean, I went to language school, and then I got a work visa, and I wasn't working as a translator immediately. I was working as a systems engineer. But I think I mentioned it in the last video actually. But that sucked, so I became a translator. So question two, what are your thoughts about the Shenmue series in general, and how do you think they compare to what many consider the modern equivalent in Yakuza? And do you think the comparison is even valid? Okay, I like Shenmue, but I haven't played Shenmue since like it came out. I played one and two on the Dreamcast back in the day. I remember when Shenmue came out because it was like one of the first games I don't know if I pre-ordered. I want to say I pre-ordered, but I know I got it on the first day, and I think I've told this story before. It seems like I've told this story before, but like I played it for hours and hours, and my girlfriend showed up and was like screaming at me because I was ignoring her, and she stormed out of the house and whatever, and I just went back to playing Shenmue. I didn't care, and that happened. But so I remember, like, I have a real good memories of Shenmue, and I played Shenmue 2 on my Dreamcast also, but that one I like was an import that I had to like use a boot disc to play it. Um, so I haven't played it since then. So like I backed Shenmue 3, like it's like on Kickstarter, and I'm waiting for my we're waiting for that game to finish so I can finally figure out the rest of the story. But like in all honesty, I don't remember the story well enough to like. Um, I hope there's like some kind of recap that they do, because like I'm never gonna remember like what happened in the previous games. I remember the first game ending with like the 100-man battle, and I thought that was awesome. And then I remember like going, like running around talking to people, and then going to China or whatever afterwards, and doing the same kind of thing in that. I like the Shenmue series. I think it's a really good series, and like it did a lot of things that were fun, just kind of randomly talking to people. It was really slow paced and kind of like relaxed until it wasn't, when you had to do like crazy action scenes. But they were so like interspersed with the just kind of like daily life stuff, like raising a cat and like buying stuff out of like machines, and playing old video games. Like it was that kind of thing where it was just kind of like a weird life simulator almost, but with fighting and like practicing martial arts. I really like Shenmue, and like Yakuza is, it's not like exactly the same kind of game, because it's a lot more action based. Like there's a lot more action. There's a lot more kind of like um, random encounters. Like because Yakuza is actually more RPG than Shenmue is, but it does have the same kind of feel, because like you still have the same kind of like base of the game going on. Like you run around and you have like your quick time events. You got it in the same kind of way. You run around the same town. You talk to random people. You can talk to people like on the street and get these kind of stories. Like you could go into buildings and look at things. You can talk to people with their own little side stories. And you can do all types of things, like you can play arcade games like you could in Shenmue. You can go to shops. You can get like a part-time job and like do mini games and stuff. It's very similar to Shenmue in like the base of it, even though like the actual like way the game works is kind of different. It's more, it's more like uh, uh, action RPG than Shenmue is. So I don't know. I think both of those are really good series though, and I think like I know some people don't like to say that Yakuza is like Shenmue, but it really is like Shenmue in a lot of ways. And it's just like it's not the same game. I mean, it's not like the same game with a new skin put on it. It's just like the kind of a new evolution based on more action and less kind of like opening drawers in people's houses and shit. So, it's a bit more action and fast paced than a Shenmue, but it's still like generally the same base type of game. So, I think it's a pretty, valid comparison between those two. So, let's see. Question three is, do you ever think Kazuma Kaneko will ever come back to have heavy involvement in the SMT series again? And if he did, would you be excited about it, or is that not a big deal? He's been mysteriously absent since Strange Journey, and I feel his dark aesthetic added a lot to the series as a whole. You know, I really like Kaneko's artwork in the SMT games. Like, it's weird that, like, they still use his art from the previous ones. Like, his art still shows up a bunch. But, I mean, the way he draws the characters and stuff, like that kind of weird glassy eye thing going on. You know, like they have the eye shape and the glassiness to everything, and like it's kind of like a weirdness to it. I don't know how to explain it, but like you know what I mean. Like if you look, you know, if you look at any of his artwork, and like it stands out like when they add new stuff and it's totally different, doesn't fit his art style, and I kind of feel like his art style is like the way the game should look, even though he's not like the initial kind of, you know, like the initial designs aren't exactly the ones that they use now, obviously, but like, you know, the ones that he does, like even even non SMT games, like what in like Makin X or Makin Shao or whatever you're gonna look at, they look like SMT games because of the his art style, even though they're not really. So I think like looking at those, it's interesting. You get like a different. I like his art style, and I wish like he would come back. I mean, I wish he would do more stuff. I don't know if he will. I don't know what the reason why he doesn't. Maybe they don't want him anymore, or he just doesn't want to do it anymore. I don't know the story, but I prefer him to come back because like I like the way his stuff looks. So yeah, I mean, I hope he comes back. It's a big deal. It's not like a big deal if he doesn't, I guess, but like I'd prefer it if he did. So okay, so that's the end. Next, we got a next question. Tizawoot is back asking me, "What is your MBTI type?" Ah, shit. Um, you know, I remember he asked me this question, and I took the test afterwards, so that I would be able to answer it. And I can't remember um, what my thing was. I mean, I probably took a note though, so I'm gonna look in my look in my drive here and see if I took a note of what my result was, because I remember having a conversation with him about it, and I'll look in the comment history and see what we got, because I'm sure there's something. Um, but yeah, let's see. But for people who don't know, this is like that the Myers Briggs test or whatever. I don't, is that what it is? I but like it's that kind of personality test type where you have you know, like the 16 types maybe or something, where it gives you like a major personality type. And I remember asking him to guess what mine was when I'm trying to figure out where that is in the comments here so I can figure out what remember what mine was. But he uh, he did guess it. Oh, here it is. Um, hey, and I estimated that this question would be answered in part 10. It's totally part 10. Um, okay, I remember what it is. I wonder what it is now. So, what is my MB Myers Briggs, whatever it is, um, test for my personality type is int P. Um, it's INTP or int P, I guess. There's a bunch of stuff attached to that. I don't remember what it is, but like you can look it up. It's those things have a big list, but that's actually like a pretty good choice for me. It fits me pretty well, actually. I think int P does. And the description of it, I think, like when I look at it, I think like, yeah, that's pretty much me. So int P, that's what I am. Um, let's see. Next, we've got Segata Sanguro, who is also a longtime commenter, is asking, do you plan to stay in Japan after retirement, and what do you hope to achieve in general before you reach that point? I probably will stay in Japan after retirement. I mean, I assume that like I'll be getting some kind of retirement money from Japan since I've been working here for so long. So, I mean, it only makes sense. But you know, I don't. I mean, probably by that point, it won't even matter where I am, as long as I'm somewhere where there's not shooting. I'll probably be okay. So I don't know. I haven't thought about it, but what do I hope to achieve in general before I retire? Fuck, I don't know. I don't have any career goals. I mean, I'm not like a particularly work-oriented person. So I don't really have anything that I want to achieve so much in that sense. Like, I don't know. It's not something I think about in a any type of like deep way. So I don't have any answer to that. I don't. I mean, I guess I could think of something, but it would probably take forever. I mean, I'd have to take like this bizarre kind of like look at how my life is going and see where I want it to go. Like I couldn't do that on video at least. Um, so I don't know. So next question we've got Retro Soryu is asking, what are some good games that have unique gameplay? I recently played Chibi Robo and really enjoyed it, so I've been looking for more games to play like nothing else in the genre or even create their own genres. Um, Good games with unique gameplay? Unique gameplay. That's okay. There are a lot of games like that, but um that I would recommend, but like I don't know, it's hard to pick some that I would say these are the ones you should definitely try. For me though, um, this is an RPG, but like I mentioned it before, but Ore no Shikabane o Koete Yuke is like Oreshika, the original though, the one on the PS1 or the PSP. That one is like super good. It's totally unique in so many ways for how it works as an RPG that it's totally worth playing. Um, it's not. It's an RPG though. It's not like its own genre. Um, there's those games. There's like a bunch like what the hell's the name of that game? It's LOL. Um, is it Loss of Love? Is maybe the name of it? It's on the Dreamcast. I don't remember what the first. It's something of love. It's and I think it's like uh, that game is in. It's made by the same people who did Tulip, I think. And those two games actually are both kind of weirdo games that have their own kind of genre. If you've never played any of the Katamari Damashi games, those games are definitely worth playing because they're pretty much their own genre. And those are great. Like I played those so much, and I have all of those games actually. Like I buy every one of those. They're really good, really fun, really interesting. But that's like such a common answer. When someone thinks of like some weird ass game, that's like probably the first one that comes up on a list, just because it's everywhere. But it's a good example. Um, I'm trying to think of something that's not wouldn't come up pretty often. I guess I mean I'd probably have to look at shit, but man, I'm gonna have to look. Um, yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen. I mean, I'd have to go through everything, and nothing is coming to my head like off the top of my head. But like I think like there's games that don't make like a lot of in the same kind of sense. So like if you guys remember like Intelligent Cube on the PS1, that game is still really playable today, even though because it's mostly just cubes, but it's a puzzle game, but it's fun because like you're kind of running around on this board trying to blow up cubes and shit. It's good. And then you have um like Catherine is another game that's like not really like anything else, even though it's like basically just a puzzle game. It's still a kind of game that is interesting and innovative in ways that other games aren't. So I really like that game, and I would definitely recommend that if you haven't played it. I put like 100 hours into that game. I just play it so many times. I just keep playing it over and over again. It's really good. But I'm trying to think of stuff that would be um, more new because there's all types of stuff like like LSD and stuff like that where it's like everybody knows those though. It's not like really something that like I'm like telling you something you didn't know. So it's that kind of stuff where um, I don't know. It's hard to pick out games that are just kind of like these anomalies without like going and look at them. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I can say for that. let's see. So next question is Ozeloto is back and asking me, do you own or have you played the SMT pen and paper RPG? Been wondering that since the Shinsei Mokushiroku Death March videos. Also, does that pen and paper game setting have much in common with the visual novel, or is it just names and some elements like the swords you mentioned? Okay, let's see. I don't own the SMT pen and paper RPGs because they're ridiculously expensive, and there are a bunch of them. There's like three versions of the SMT pen and paper RPG, like written by different people and kind of like rebooted. So like, and then there's like a SMT3 pen and paper RPG that's based on the kind of lore of SMT3 over SMT1 and 2. So all of those are there. So like the SMT3 one has like the Amala network and stuff where the other one doesn't. Um, but I don't have any of those, and I've tried to find them, but like they're all like one of those books, just like one of them is like $100, and like I'm not like I'm never gonna find anybody play that game with me, is what I'm saying. Like if they were like $100 and I could, get it, and people would, I was like assured somebody would want to play it with me, like okay, I'd buy it. But like I know I could get those and like then I'd be like, oh, nobody's gonna play this with me. It's kind of useless. I can read it and be like, oh, well, okay, here's some RPG settings for SMT, but like no one's gonna play it. So it's that kind of thing where that it makes me less want to purchase them. But I do have Shinsei Mokushiroku, which is like written by the same guy who wrote the SMT pen and paper RPG, and it's the same game essentially. It's just like got a different name because like there was a licensing thing, and the setting and the visual novel are not exactly the same. The setting really like the setting for the pen and paper RPG is essentially SMT one and two. I mean that's essentially it. You've got like the kind of um, where all the demons come out. That's like SMT one, or you've got like after the world has been like ruined, so SMT two. That's basically what you've got for the pen and paper RPG. And like I guess like if you think about the visual novel, it's taking place during the first part where the demons start coming out. But it could just be part of like an adventure that happened in the world while that was happening. It's not like you're not like the person who's changing the world or anything in that visual novel. So it could. I guess it potentially could. I mean, but it doesn't like give you any indication that it is. So okay, so I guess I answered that. And next, he asks if you could combine two franchises into one game, what would they be, and what style of game would it be? I would. I mean, I'd like to combine something like I don't know. I'd like to have something that's like a mix between an XCOM game and maybe some kind of I don't know, some kind of like a Dark Souls game. I don't know how that would work. Like I don't know how you would handle that. Like XCOM Dark Souls. And I mean like it would play like not like Dark Souls, but it would play like XCOM. I don't know how you would do that. It would be really hard. Like you'd have to use lots of bows, um, and I guess it would be kind of silly hard. But there's not any. I don't think that's a realistic kind of combination. It's just like kind of combining two things that I really liked. It would be easier to combine SMT and XCOM, something like that, because then you could just. I mean, in all honesty, like that game on the Saturn, Rondo, which is like the kind of continuation of Majin Tensei from the Super Nintendo, is it's kind of like that. I mean, it's a strategy RPG, but based on grids. But it's 3D enough. It's kind of XCOM-ish. I mean, it's not really, but like because it's more just like a strategy RPG. But a strategy game that was more like SMT would be cool, like an XCOM NT. I don't know. So that would be cool. And probably the last question, maybe there's part of this. How was Necronomicon? That was last year, actually. Last year, when I went to the US, I went to Necronomicon. It's a H.P. Lovecraft kind of weird fiction convention in Providence. And it was good, actually. I had a lot of fun there. I met some interesting people. I met some fun people. Um, and I've actually been asked to contribute art and to the 2017 Necronomicon kind of book that you get when you go. So that's gonna be good. Um, Necronomicon was really fun though. I liked Providence so much as a place. Like it's like a pretty small city really, and it's there's not like a huge amount of stuff going on there, but there's a lot of weirdness in Providence, and there's lots of interesting places you can go. And at Necronomicon, there's like your kind of black t-shirt and fedora and beard combination is your ratio is like way out of normal. So like here's my tip: if you guys want to commit some serious crime, like you want to rob a bank or some shit, go to Providence during Necronomicon, grow a beard, wear a fedora and a black t-shirt, rob the bank, and just run outside. And like what'll happen is like the police would never be able to find you because like the suspect would be like 90% of people in the area. You'd never find it. So you'd never get found. That would be you get away with it easy. Um, so that's it. I mean, Necronomicon was good though. I really enjoyed it, and I liked the atmosphere of it. Going to bookstores and stuff is fun. And the last question from Ozeloto is: you mentioned you were going there when you were visiting the U.S. Yes. Do you play in any pen and paper RPG groups at the moment? Yeah, I do. I have a Pathfinder game that I play every other week, like every other Sunday or something. I play in a Pathfinder game, and we haven't played for so long because it keeps getting canceled. But we're like right at the end of a campaign, and then I'm going to be running it. So I'm going to be doing. There's like a new Pathfinder um, game kind of coming out. It's like Pathfinder, like they have modules or whatever, like the kind of storyline books. It's like a kind of a Call of Cthulhu kind of one that's coming out. So I'm going to be running that with the same group, I guess. Now I'm just a player, but I'll be running the next one after August, I guess. So, but yeah, Pathfinder is what I do. I used to play other stuff too. I used to play Shadowrun with some of the same people, but it just got too much. Like every weekend, I couldn't go to a game. Like so, you just start canceling a lot, and then like eventually you just gotta like stop. So I had to stop one of them, and I stopped Shadowrun. So let's see. Next we've got Jolly Good is back, and he's asking me if you do like any of Shion Sono's films, like Suicide Club or Noriko's Dinner Table. I haven't seen all of his movies, but I've seen like Suicide Circle, and like that's an alright movie, but like I think I think he has a problem with like pacing and continuity with his movies. Like Suicide Club is like one of those movies where like it seems like it's going somewhere, and then it just has a freak out halfway through and like turns into something totally different, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? And like I think that kind of seems to happen with him. And I mean I haven't seen all his movies obviously, so maybe it doesn't happen all the time. But like I've seen a couple of his movies, and I think what I've seen I enjoy, but like he's not like one of my favorite guys. Ergo, I why I haven't seen most of his movies. But I don't know. Yeah, he's all right. I've seen some of his stuff though. I guess the next chunk of questions will be the last ones because I don't know how long I've been going at this, and this one's at 25 minutes. So I guess when I stitch them together, it might be over an hour, might be a little less, but I don't know. But anyway, Think Protoss is here asking questions. How many video games have you played already? Any clue? I asked because you said you couldn't remember if you played Baldur's Gate 2. Does that happen more often? And if so, is it because of the high number of games you played, or because these games have made no particular impression? So, how many games have I played? Holy shit, I don't know. Thousands. Um, Now, like, I'm like pushing 40, and when I've been playing games since I was a kid. So, and like when I was playing games on PC, and then I was playing games on the Nintendo, and like, you think like, how many games could you have played on the Nintendo? Well, I rented a game like every week for years, sometimes more than once. So like, and plus games I bought. So I had and plus games you play at friends' house, like that kind of stuff. Like I played so many games, like hundreds of just Nintendo games, and then Super Nintendo and all of Genesis, all that kind of stuff too, where you'd rent games all the time. I'd rent games all the time, and then like, and that's not even including like stuff you play with friends. So like, um, and then like stuff you play on PC, stuff you play on all the game generations, like thousands of games easily, and like sometimes like it's hard to remember what you've played entirely. And something like Baldur's Gate 2 is the kind of thing where like I just don't remember because like I can't, like some of those things blend together for me, where like, like recently I bought Neverwinter Nights 2, and I was thinking like I never played Neverwinter Nights 2. At least I thought I'd never played Neverwinter Night 2 because I remember having it. I remember playing a lot of Neverwinter Nights, but I didn't remember playing 2. But when I started playing 2 again, I was like, I played this. I remember this. Remember doing this. So like, there's some stuff where it's like, I guess it doesn't leave enough impression for me to remember having played it. So like, for Baldur's Gate 2, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I remember playing Baldur's Gate, but like, Baldur's Gate 2, I'd have to play it again. I mean, I'd have to put it in a system and start playing it to remember if I played that or not. Um, and I might not have. I'm a little less sure. I'm like a little more sure that I didn't play Baldur's Gate 2 than I did. Um, but I might have. That's the thing. I just don't remember. So so yeah, that's kind of the reason. I think like some games I'll always remember that I played, and some I just like. Sometimes I've played games only at friends' house or something. Like you play it for a couple of hours, and then like it's hard to remember because you didn't play the entire game. And that might be the case with Baldur's Gate 2. That actually might be the case with Neverwinter Nights 2, where like I remember playing the beginning part at least. Did I play the whole thing? I don't know. But like playing through Neverwinter Nights, the first one, when I like bought the Diamond Pack or whatever of GOG, and I was thinking like, oh, I remember playing this a lot, and then like I there was like a big chunk of it I didn't play. That was the DLC, or like they had those like add-on packs for that. So like there were some of it where I thought I played, and then I'd get to a part where I'm just like, oh, well, this is entirely new. So that was kind of there's the opposite that happens sometimes too, but like it's more likely that like it's just I probably didn't finish it, and like if I didn't invest that much time into it, it's not going to be something that I'm going to remember 20 years later or something. So yeah, I guess that will be the end of part 10 here. I'm going to actually have to edit these, and I'm going to have to stitch videos together. I wonder if I can do that through YouTube. I don't know, whatever. If you got any more questions, add them below, and we'll continue this onwards, upwards, forever. I think there's still a lot of pages of questions left. Like I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like, how many more parts are there going to be? 4 maybe? I don't know. There's a lot of questions. So yeah, I guess that will be it for today though, and I will see you guys in the next part. See ya.